Seventh flash. Look! With little difficulty, you can see the seals of the single, eternally besought one on the page of the earth. So raise your head, open your eyes, and look, too, at the great book of the universe. You will see that on it, as a whole, a stamp of unity is read out, which is as clear as it is big. For like the components of a factory or members of a palace or town, these beings support one another, stretch out their hands to assist one another, and answer the needs and requests of one another, saying, "Here I am at your service." Assisting one another, they work together in order. Joining efforts, they serve animate beings. Cooperating and turned towards a single goal, they obey an all-wise disposer. They conform to a rule of mutual assistance which is in force from the sun and moon, night and day, and winter and summer, to plants coming to the assistance of hungry and needy animals, and animals hastening to the assistance of weak, noble men, and even nutritious substances flying to assist delicate, weak infants and fruits, and particles of food passing to the assistance of the cells of the body. They show to anyone who is not altogether blind that they are acting through the strength of a single, most generous nurturer, and at the command of a single, most wise disposer. Thus, on the one hand, this mutual support and assistance, this answering one another's needs, this mutual embracing, this subjugation, this order, testify decisively that beings are administered and organized by a single disposer and are being impelled and directed by a single nurturer. And on the other hand, this perfect grace within the universal wisdom to be seen plainly in the art of things, and the all-embracing mercy which shines within the providence, and the sustenance spread over that mercy, and scattered so as to answer the needs of all living beings needy for sustenance. These form a stamp of divine unity so brilliant that anyone whose mind is not altogether extinguished will understand it, and anyone who is not altogether blind will see it. A veil of wisdom demonstrating intention, consciousness, and will has covered the whole universe, and upon that veil of wisdom has been spread a veil of grace and favor, exhibiting beneficence, adornment, embellishment, and benevolence. And over that adorned veil of favor, a garment of mercy displaying flashes of making known and loved, of bestowal, and the granting of gifts, has enveloped the universe. And spread over that illuminated veil of universal mercy is a table of general provisions, showing kindness and bestowal and benevolence and perfect compassion and fine nurturing and dominical favor. Yes, all beings from particles to suns, whether individuals or species, or large or small, have been clothed in a magnificent shirt of wisdom embroidered with fruits and aims, benefits and purposes. And over the wisdom displaying shirt, a garment of favor embroidered with flowers of grace and beneficence has been cut out in accordance with the stature of things. And over that ornamented garment of favor, a general table of sustenance has been set up, lit up with flashes of love, bestowal, affection, and the granting of gifts, to which the decorations of mercy have been attached, and which, together with bestowing those illuminated and jewel-encrusted decorations, is sufficient for all the groups of living beings on the face of the earth, and meets all their needs. Thus, this matter points to an all-glorious provider who is all-wise, all-generous, and all compassionate, and shows him as clearly as the sun. Is that so? Is everything in need of sustenance? Yes. Like individual beings are in need of sustenance and all the necessities to continue their lives, we see that all the beings in the world, and especially living beings, whether universal or particular, wholes or parts, have many desires and needs, material and otherwise, for their existence, their lives, and the continuation of their lives. But their wants and needs are for such things that their hands cannot reach the least of them, and their power is insufficient for the smallest of them. Yet, we see that all their wishes and material and immaterial sustenance is given to them from where he could not imagine, from unhoped-for places with perfect order at the appropriate time in a suitable fashion with perfect wisdom. And so, does this want and need of creatures in this manner of unseen help and assistance not show an all-wise and glorious nurturer, an all-compassionate, beauteous disposer? Eighth flash. Any sort of seed sown in a field shows that the field must be at the disposal of the seed's owner, and that the seed too is under the disposal of the one who has control of the field. Similarly, the arable field of beings, known as the elements, and their universality and comprehensiveness, as well as their sameness and uncomplex nature, and the plants and animals, these fruits of mercy, miracles of power, and words of wisdom known as creatures, and their spreading to most places and settling everywhere, as well as their being similar and resembling one another, show that they are under the disposal of a single miracle-displaying maker, and in such a way that it is as if every flower, fruit, and animal is a seal, stamp, and signature of its maker. Wherever they are found, each says through the tongue of disposition, whose ever seal I am, the place I am found is also of his making. Whose ever stamp I am, this place is a missive of his. Whose ever signature I am, this land too is of his weaving. That means to be sustainer of the least creature is particular to the one who holds all the elements in the grasp of his power. Anyone who is not blind can see that to regulate and govern the simplest animal is particular to the one who has all beings in the grasp of his dominicality. Indeed, through the tongue of similarity to other individuals, all individual beings say, only one who owns my species can be my owner. It cannot be otherwise. And through the tongue of spreading over the face of the earth, together with other species, each species says, only one who owns the whole face of the earth can be our owner. It cannot be otherwise. And through the tongue of being bound to the sun and other planets and mutually supportive with the skies, the earth says, only one who is owner of the whole universe can be my owner. It cannot be otherwise. Yes, supposing someone were to say to a conscious apple, you are my work of art, through the tongue of disposition, the apple would reply, be silent. If you are capable of fashioning all the other apples on the earth, indeed, if you can have disposal over all my fellows, the other fruit-bearing trees, spread over the earth, and all the gifts of the most merciful proceeding from the treasury of mercy in boatloads, then you can claim to be my sustainer. The apple would say that and aim a slap at that foolish person. Ninth flash. We have pointed out some of the seals, stamps, and signatures on particulars and parts, universals and wholes, on the world as a whole, and on life. living beings, and raising to life. Now, we shall indicate one of the countless stamps on species. Since the countless fruits of a fruit-bearing tree are administered from one center, in accordance with one law and a single way of raising, the difficulty, hardship, and expense are transformed into ease. It is so easy the numerous fruits raised become equal to a single fruit. That means in regard to quantity, multiplicity and numerous centers necessitate the difficulty, expense, and equipment of the whole tree for a single fruit. The difference is only in regard to quality. Like all the factories required for the whole army are necessary to manufacture all the military equipment necessary for a single soldier. That is to say, if the matter passes from unity to multiplicity, in respect of quantity, the difficulties increase to the number of individuals. Thus, the extraordinary ease to be seen clearly in all species is the result of the ease and facility arising from unity. In short, the conformity and similarity in basic members between all the individuals of a species and all the species of a genus prove that they are the works of a single maker, because the unity of the pen and oneness of the seal requires this. Similarly, the observable, absolute ease and lack of difficulty require, indeed necessitate, that they are the works of one maker. Otherwise, difficulties rising to the degree of impossibility would doom the genus and the species to non-existence. To conclude, if all things are ascribed to Almighty God, they become as easy as a single thing, while if they are attributed to causes, they become as difficult as everything. Since it is thus, the extraordinary profusion observed in the universe and the boundless abundance before our eyes display a stamp of unity like the sun. If these fruits which we obtain in such plenty were not the property of the single one of unity, we would not have a single pomegranate to eat, even if we gave the whole world for it. 10th flash. Just as life, which displays a manifestation of divine beauty, is a proof of divine oneness and a sort of manifestation of unity, death, too, which displays the manifestation of divine glory, is a proof of divine unity. For example, and God's is the highest similitude by showing the sun's light and reflection, the bubbles on a wide flowing river which sparkle in the sun, and transparent objects which glisten on the face of the earth testify to the sun. On those tribes of bubbles and transparent objects disappearing, the continued magnificent manifestation of the sun and the uninterrupted and constant display of its light on the successive groups and tribes of bubbles and transparent objects which follow on after them testify decisively that the little images of the sun and the lights and flashes which appear and sparkle, flare up and die away, and are charged and renewed, are the manifestations of an enduring, perpetual, elevated, single sun whose manifestation is undying. That is to say, just as through their appearance and becoming visible, the shining droplets demonstrate the sun's existence, so with their disappearance and extinction, they demonstrate its continuation, permanence, and unity. In exactly the same way, through their existence and lives, these flowing beings testify to the necessary existence and oneness of the necessarily existent one, and with their deaths and disappearance, they testify to his pre-eternity, everlastingness, and unity. Yes, the beautiful creatures and fine beings which are renewed and restored within the decline and disappearance that occur through the alternation of night and day, winter and summer, and the centuries and ages surely point to the existence, continuance, and unity of an elevated, eternal possessor of continually manifested beauty. While the deaths and disappearance of those beings, together with their apparent and lowly causes, demonstrate that the causes are nothing but a mere veil. This situation proves decisively that these arts, these inscriptions, these manifestations are the constantly renewed arts, the changing inscriptions, the moving mirrors of an all-beauteous one of glory, all of whose names are sacred and beautiful, that they are his seals which follow on one after the other, and his stamps that are changed with wisdom. In short, the mighty book of the universe both teaches us the creational signs concerning divine existence and unity, and it testifies to all the attributes of perfection, beauty, and glory of that all-glorious one. And they prove the perfection of the divine essence faultlessly and without defect. For it is obvious that perfection in a work points to the perfection of the act, which is the source and origin of the work. And the perfection of the act points to the perfection of the name, and the perfection of the name to the perfection of the attribute, and perfection of the attribute to the perfection of the essential qualities, and the perfection of the qualities point necessarily and self-evidently to the perfection of the essence possessing those qualities. For example, the perfect inscriptions and adornments of a faultless palace indicate the perfection of a master builder's axe behind them, and the perfection of the axe shows the perfection of that active master's titles and names, which demonstrate his rank. And the perfection of the names and titles show the perfection of the other attributes qualifying the master builder's art. And the perfection of the art and attributes show the perfection of the abilities and essential capacity of that craftsman, which are called the essential qualities. And the perfection of those essential qualities and abilities show the perfection of the master's essential nature. In exactly the same way, the faultless works observed in the world, which manifest the meaning of, "Do you see any flaw?" This art in the well-ordered beings of the universe point observedly to the perfect acts of an active possessor of power. And those perfect acts point clearly to the perfect names of a glorious agent. And that perfection necessarily points to and testifies to the perfect attributes of the beauteous one signified by the names. And certainly those perfect attributes point and testify to the perfection of the perfect one qualified by the attributes. And those perfect qualities point with such absolute certainty to the perfect essence of the one possessing the qualities that they indicate that all the sorts of perfection to be seen in the whole universe are but signs of his perfections, hints of his glory, and allusions to his beauty, and pale, weak shadows in relation to his perfection. The 11th flash, which has the strength of suns. As is defined in the 19th word, our Master Muhammad, the Trustworthy, peace and blessings be upon him, is the supreme sign of the mighty book of the universe and the greatest name of that mighty Quran. the seed of the tree of the universe and its most luminous fruit, the sun of the palace of the world, and the radiant moon of the world of Islam, the herald of the sovereignty of divine dominicality, and the wise discloser of the talisman of the universe, who flies in the levels of reality with the wings of messengership, which take under their shade all the prophets, and the wings of Islam, which take under their protection all the world of Islam, who took behind him all the prophets and messengers, all the saints and veracious ones, all the purified and the scholars, and demonstrated divine unity with all his strength, and opened up the way to divine oneness. Has any doubt or suspicion, then, the power to conceal or obscure the belief in God which he demonstrated, or the divine unity which he proved? Since in the 19th word and 19th letter we have defined and described briefly and to a small degree in 14 droplets and 19 signs from the water of life of that clear proof's knowledge, that miracle displaying being, together with his various miracles, we shall here content ourselves with this indication and conclude with a benediction for him. O God, grant blessings to the one who demonstrated your necessary existence and unity, and testified to your glory and beauty and perfection, the verified and veracious witness, the verifying articulate proof, the Lord of the prophets and messengers, the bearer of the mystery of their consensus, affirmation, and miracles, the leader of the saints and veracious ones, the holder of the mystery of their accord, verifications, and wonder-working, the one with evident miracles, clear marvels, and decisive evidences which corroborated and affirmed him, who displayed exalted purity in his self, elevated morals in his duty, and lofty qualities in his sharia, perfect and free of all contradiction, to whom, according to the consensus of the revealed and the revealer, and the one who revealed it to him, dominical revelation descended, the traveler through the worlds of the unseen and of the inner dimensions of things, the observer of spirits who conversed with the angels, the sample of the perfections of the universe in regard to both individuals and species and realms of beings, the most luminous of the fruits of the tree of creation, the lamp of truth, the proof of reality, the embodiment of mercy, the exemplification of love, the discloser of the talisman of the universe, the herald of the sovereignty of dominicality, the sign that the elevatedness of his collective personality was before the eyes of the world's creator at the creation of the universe, the possessor of a sharia that indicates through the breadth of its principles and strength that it is the order of the orderer of the world, drawn up by the creator of the universe. Yes, the one who ordered the universe with this perfect and total order is he who ordered this religion with its fine and beautiful order. Our Master, we are the community of the sons of Adam. Our guide to belief, we are the community of believers. Muhammad ibn Abdullah ibn Abdul Muttalib, upon him be the most perfect blessings and most complete peace as long as the heavens and earth subsist, for he is the veracious and verified witness who summoned the leaders of witnesses and has instructed the branches of mankind throughout the centuries and all the regions of the world in elevated fashion, with all his strength, with complete seriousness and utter steadfastness. and with the power of his certainty and perfect belief, testifying, I testify that there is no God but God, the one. He has no partner. 12th flash, which has the strength of suns. This 12th flash of the 22nd word is such an ocean of truths that all the previous 22 words form only 22 drops of it, and it is a source of such lights that they form only 22 flashes of that sun. Yes, all the previous 22 words are flashes of the stars of the verses shining in the skies of the Quran. All are single droplets from the river of a verse flowing from that ocean of discernment, distinguishing truth and falsehood. Each is but one pearl from a single of its verses, all of which are chests of jewels in the sublime treasury of God's book. Thus, the word of God, which is in small part defined in the 14th droplet of the 19th word, has been revealed from the greatest name, the sublime throne, and the greatest manifestation of dominicality, and it repeatedly states with all its strength within a breadth and elevatedness that binds pre-eternity to post-eternity and ties the ground to the divine throne. And with the certainty of all its verses, there is no God but God. It calls the whole universe to witness and makes it testify. Yes, altogether the world hymns, there is no God but God. If you look at the Quran with the eyes of a sound heart, you will see that its 6 aspects are so brilliant and transparent that no darkness, no misguidance, no doubt or suspicion, no trickery could enter it or find a fissure through which to enter and violate its purity. For above it is the stamp of miraculousness, beneath it proof and evidence, behind it its point of support, pure dominical revelation, before it the happiness of this world and the next. On its right, questioning the reason and ensuring its confirmation, on its left, calling on the conscience to witness and securing its submission. Within it is self-evidently the pure guidance of the most merciful. Its outside observedly consists of the lights of belief, and its fruits, with all certainty, the purified and veracious scholars and saints, who are adorned with all the human perfections and attainments. If you fasten your ear to the breast of that tongue of the unseen, you will hear from afar a most familiar and convincing, and infinitely serious and elevated heavenly voice equipped with proof which repeats, there is no God but God. It states this so certainly, it is at the degree of absolute certainty, and illuminates you with a knowledge of certainty, resembling vision of certainty. In short, both God's most noble messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, and the most decisive criterion of truth and falsehood were sons. One, the tongue of the manifest world, pointing with the fingers of Islam and messengership, and confirmed by all the prophets and purified ones, supported by 1,000 miracles, demonstrated this truth with all his strength. And the other, like the tongue of the world of the unseen, indicating with the fingers of right and guidance under the confirmation of all the creational signs in the universe, within 40 aspects of miraculousness, demonstrates the same truth with all seriousness. Is that truth then not clearer than the sun and more brilliant than sunlight? Oh, obdurate little man sunk in misguidance! How can you oppose these suns with the lamp of your head, dimmer than a firefly? How can you show disdain for them? Are you trying to extinguish them by puffing? Pooh to your denying mind! How can you deny the words and claims which those two tongues of the manifest and unseen worlds speak in the name of the sustainer of all the worlds and owner of the universe, which they speak on his behalf? Oh, you wretch, lower and more impotent than a fly! Who are you that you attempt to give the lie to the universe's glorious owner? Conclusion. O friend, whose mind is alert and heart attentive, if you have understood this 20-second word from beginning up to here, take the 12 flashes together in your hand and finding a lamp of truth as powerful as 1,000 electric lamps, adhere to the below-mentioned verses of the Quran, mount the steed of divine assistance, ascend to the heavens of truth, rise to the throne of divine knowledge, declare, I testify that there is no God but you. You are one, you have no partner. And saying, I testify that there is no God but God. He is one. He has no partner. His is the dominion, and his is the praise. He gives life and gives death, and he is ever living and dies not. In his hand is all good, and he is powerful over all things. Proclaim his unity over the heads of all the beings in the universe in this mighty mosque of the world. Glory be unto you. We have no knowledge save that which you have taught us. Indeed, you are all-knowing, all-wise. O our sustainer, do not call us to task if we forget or fall into error. Our sustainer, lay not a burden on us like that which you laid on those before us. Our sustainer, lay not on us a burden greater than we have the strength to bear. Blot out our sins and grant us forgiveness. Have mercy on us. You are our protector. Help us against those who stand against faith. Our sustainer, let not our hearts deviate now after you have guided us, but grant us mercy from your presence. For you are the granter of bounties without measure. Our sustainer, you are he that will gather mankind together against the day about which there is no doubt. For God never fails in his promise. O God, grant blessings and peace to the one whom you sent as a mercy to all the worlds, and to all his family and companions. And have mercy on us, and have mercy on his community. Through your mercy, O most merciful of the merciful. Amen. And the close of their prayer will be, Praise be to God, the sustainer of all the worlds.